Okay. All right. I should understand.
Okay, and you all can see the screen? Okay, awesome. So welcome again. This is the fourth edition for the What's Next Career Coaching webinar hosted by the NIU organization. So just a quick reminder, the section is being recorded and will be available for everyone who participate in the today's section. And what you'll be here today is we'll have a very short introduction about the webinar and the new organization. Then we will have the panel introduction to our three distinct speakers for today. And then we will have the panel discussion to ask how all our speakers embark on their journey at the public sector. And then we will open up for a public Q&A to ask any question that you have on your job searching. But also feel free to drop your question in the chat as they come up. We will try to address that during the session, or we will try to bring that up when we enter the Q&A section. And so the network of interdisciplinary urbanness, it was somehow a distinction for the interdisciplinary sustainable urban design from the University of Stuttgart. It is a extension for the alumni for the program. It was launched at 2021 during COVID in the need to support more the IUSD alumni to conduct their job searching during the pandemic. And after that, we continue to launch a platform and register as an NGO in the US, hope to provide more support for any similar urban profession to advance their career searching process. And a very brief introduction about myself. I am Eating Light. I am the IUSD Programs Alumni from the 7th intake. And here with me is Dori Estrada, who is one of the co-founder of this network.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Really looking forward to today's session. Just want to give kudos to Lynn, since she is the architect behind this career webinar series, and I think is doing a great job organizing. And maybe, Lynn, I'll just mention this topic was really popular when we did this last month. We had a lot of feedback that people were really interested about local sector roles. And therefore, we have a whole new set of great folks working in this area to talk to you today. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dori. So first, we will have Francisca, who is the course coordinator while I'm still in the IUSD and the lead for the Berlin module, where she shared her firsthand knowledge about as a Berliner and how she witnessed the social and physical transition for the city. And I will turn the stage to Francisca now.
Wow, okay. I didn't have that on my map. Yeah, thank you. Okay, hold on. Now I'm out of my concept. Hi, everyone. This is Francisca. And yeah, as you can see from my slide, I am linked to the IUSD program in, let's say, 3 ways, I can say. First of all, as you see and can tell, I'm also an alumni, actually from the very first generation. So first intake, which originated as a double degree program between Cairo and Stuttgart exclusively. So I am a proud graduate of Ain Shams University as well. And so we were the guinea pigs with a lot of wonderful experiences and challenges. The second connection is that after my graduation, I have been a coordinator in the program for 6 years. So basically everyone from intake 3 to 9, I think, may know me and I know them and still remember each other fondly, hopefully. The third connection is actually, I'm so happy that this network is now actually there and working as its own, how could I call it, emancipated entity, because this was one of my side activities as a coordinator to to canvas across the students and the alumni from each intake to have a living and an active alumni network. This wasn't easy because it was institutionally challenging, also from the academic institutions, and also having Dory as my liaison back then when we were both sharing space at the university in Stuttgart. So I'm so happy that you took it further, and along with every alumni who was active, to just make it what it is now. I'm really happy about that. And maybe another full circle moment I have to also address is seeing Mauricio. I think you know what's coming. It's wonderful also as a coordinator. I was once sent to Colombia, and having met him in Medellin, Medellin, right? You were interested in the program, and then we spent 2 years in Stuttgart, and now you're basically a colleague. We're colleagues in Germany, so that's beautiful to see. And
Many years ago, but yes.
Almost, 9 years ago. Yeah. And briefly about me, as you see on the slide, I also I'm among the big crowd of having architecture urbanism background in my professional portfolio, and my work experience is originally from development cooperation in I call it the SWANA, or we should call it the SWANA region, or even differently, so Southwest Asia, Northern Africa. Particularly, I worked in Syria and Egypt in the urban development programs of the GIZ. And afterwards, you now know, I worked at the university coordinating and teaching. And since late 2019, I'm now working in an entirely new world. It's the public authority realm. More precisely, the municipality of Stuttgart. And Alejandra is a dear colleague of mine. From a different office, but we meet each other regularly in the cantina. And I'm working in the Department of Planning and Housing. And and you can also see I'm involved in a few civil society organizations, and I'm also in the midst of my own PhD. So that's basically about me. Please move to the next slide for me to share with you. Hopefully, you can follow me. Don't worry about if you can or cannot see anything on the slide. The essence is basically, I will take you a little bit scaling down from a national to a very local scale, trying to give you a very brief idea about a very big program that some of you may actually also know, because as you see on the right-hand side, the map of Germany with all these dots, this is where the program, a federal program of social coherence, or actually urban development support program, is active and is funding programs and projects of any scale possible. So this is the introduction. Basically, I work in the so-called Urban Development Support Program, which is in German the Städtebauförderungsprogramm. It's pretty old by now. It's over 50 years old now, founded in 1971 with the Urban Planning Funding Act. And basically, as you see on the left-hand side, the timeline that it has undergone quite a few transitions. So it started with emergency programs post-war or post-World War II. It's started with mere retrofitting, very physically or let's say building-oriented programs. It since 2007, if I'm not mistaken, it became more and more participatory. And basically, what I can tell you is it's already mentioned. It's across all types of settlements, differing in size, and major municipal, but also intermunicipal possibilities of funding can take place within that program. And there are 5 core features of that. So it's the cooperation between the federal government and the federal states and the municipalities. So the money comes from all different tiers. It depends a little bit on the municipality or the settlement that you are involved with. Has an integrated planning approach for all its overall activities, and it has become more and more flexible to the different needs in the municipalities. It's heavy on participation right now, and it's undergoing a yearly evaluation and constant reporting. There's a yearly funding adaptation for each municipality. So it's a very big and important project. Some of you may have come across this in their research, in their direct work, in their daily jobs, or simply maybe maybe it's part of a design project with us. So maybe that's basically it. Maybe briefly telling you that in 2020 there has been a relaunch. That's why you see there are 3 new arrows since 2020. It has been simplified, it has become more flexible, and there's also now the green notion in the urban redevelopment programs. So climate change, resilience is a much more important aspect of it. And we talk about 790 million euros in 2020 for everything, for the whole program in Germany. Next slide, please. So how does it look like for Stuttgart? Stuttgart is actually involved in the urban redevelopment, as you could see from the timeline, since 1978. So it's 46 years old now, or 46 years it's there in Stuttgart. Currently, we have 20 active redevelopment areas. I will go a bit into that later on. And we have all the 3 strands. So we have the climate strand in some of the district areas. We have also the social cohesion, which I am taking care of, one of the redevelopment areas. Also another one, the 3rd one, is active neighborhoods. So it's bringing the different actors together. So, and since 1999, we have the particular social coherence program, which is heavy on participation, heavy on always having the local population, the bottom-up process being involved and being moderated by a specific district management team that is commissioned by us, but is located right inside the redevelopment areas. And there we have 5 areas out of the 20. The funding volume in all 5 areas have been 29 million in the last years. And the usual typical timeline or lifetime of these projects is 8 to 10 years. So we need at least 8 to 10 years to have, especially as you can see on the slide, infrastructure projects work, construction projects work. It's from the ignition to the participation, to the conceptualization, to the planning, and to the implementation and use. Sometimes the projects take even longer. So sometimes we even pick up projects from before we actually have delineated the areas as redevelopment areas, because this is also a process. We have to identify why these areas require or are eligible to be a redevelopment area to be able to receive federal funding. So maybe let's go to the next slide, please. Going into the next scale, which is actually some of the attendees have been part of the IUSD or IRD projects, because it was a kind opportunity with Astrid and also Leonie that we partnered, we liaised for 2 seminars and IRDs for Münster to look into the opportunities and challenges that Münster has with regards to the sustainable development goals, but also in terms of urban and green development. So, and here you see we have specific redevelopment areas. On the left-hand side on the map, you see there are the delineations. It looks a little bit like an electric guitar. You know, you see the red delineation and also the blue one. Within these areas, you have this is where I can put funding into different projects, where I can, as a project manager, offer also participatory support. But often we regard the whole district, also the surrounding areas, as part of that. So everyone basically benefits from us being there. So these are so-called redevelopment areas. And the planning is always considered holistically, meaning we consider the social, economic, ecological, and cultural aspects in all regards. And as already mentioned, in order to become an area, we need extensive preliminary studies. This is for each area. Every area needs at least 1 year of preliminary, heavy, intensive studies. And then during these studies, we collect needs and suggestions from within the district, and also, of course, from all the different institutions, the municipal institutions, the private institutions, what is needed, what is wanted, for as small as social coherence ideas and participatory ideas, to as large as infrastructure projects. So redesigning a street, setting up a community building, and so on. And then, of course, the implementation. And here, as a project manager, we always have to go within our municipality to tap on the shoulders and ask for let's say, for swiftning the processes in implementing things, but also always feeding it back from and to the local community. So the holistic aspect is always in there, which actually makes it a lot of, it's a big motivator, especially having the IUSD studies in background, where we are always, we were preaching to each other to look at this holistically. And sometimes in the practice, it's not always that easy to be that change agent. So this program actually, for me, facilitates that for me on the very local scale. So, and as it's on the local scale, I already mentioned we need to recognize the neighborhood development as a dynamic and comprehensive process. So we need to build trust. We need to have everyone on board. And that's why you see on the right-hand side, the organizational chart, that everyone is considered from the local mayor to actually the community. You may not see the details, but it's all structured into thematic groups as well. And in each thematic groups, there are representatives from the local community. They are just basically residents. And we always meet regularly and feed feedback into the community, and then also take the needs into account. And then on bottom, you see there's a timeline. This is a typical timeline, but this is specific for Münster, which is now the district that I take care of. It started, the preliminary studies were in 2015. It took roughly 1.5 years to get an idea of what the district needs. Then 2017, officially and by law, it became a designated area, a development area. And ever since, we are in German, wir bohren das dicke Brett. Yeah, we are we are trying to drill little holes of change into a very thick board is it timber? Yeah. So that's yeah, and we call it that these projects are marathons and they're not sprints. It takes a long time. People, of course, can be patient, and that's also part of the participatory work to be, on the one hand, accountable, be responsive, to communicate, and to also build trust and awareness. And then the final slide, please, Yelin. I think, yeah, to give you a little glimpse into what happens in my specific area. We can basically, according to the wish list that I mentioned before, we can do a lot. And this is also what we try to push. And this is all based on very clearly defined goals. They are called development or local development goals. And this includes anything from mobility, improving the local mobility, especially barrier to ensure barrier-free mobility for the vulnerable public, or for the vulnerable residents, that we also ensure the upgrading of existing green spaces, open spaces, that we improve also, let's say, the parking situation. It's always something everyone, especially in Stuttgart, with their beloved car, it's always there. So we try to find a balance between a mobility for everyone and also having their cars being parked somewhere. So it's negotiating the tree and the bicycle for the car. Yeah. Strengthening, but of course, the local economy. This is very important. In my area, it's a very scattered situation. The local economy doesn't have this one street or this one shopping center. It's everywhere. So we work a lot with communication and visibility, mutual visibility. And of course, another important thing is that we ensure that housing stays affordable, and also that the housing, the existing housing is climate proof, but also energy efficient and hence also more affordable. So maybe to just wrap it up, the infrastructure projects that we take care of right at the moment, so the large scale ones, is the upgrading of the local playground. We have now a very climate adaptive, cute little playground that we opened this spring. We are now working on climate proof street upgrading. There is one major street that we are in negotiation and the preliminary design phase. Then we are also in the midst of negotiating buying plots from the Federal Train Company to build a bridge to connect the districts of Hallschlag, this is the neighboring district, with our district for pedestrians and cyclists. So also in order to ensure pedestrian mobility and also barrier-free mobility. And these are the major. Oh yeah, and we also planned on upgrading the green let's say backbone of the district. There is a beautiful but very neglected green connected strip all across the district. And then maybe from the smaller projects, we are activating the community, or we are supporting the already active members of the local community with the help of festivities, with the help of climate awareness raising, supporting the local fair trade working groups. So it's always we support with our funding, but also with our public relations skills. That they can, the local population can make it themselves visible. And now two last points is what did I want to say? Ah, yeah, of course. Then, as you see in the middle, on the left-hand side, in one of these boxes, you see the same house twice. So we are giving funding to retrofitting for private house owners to retrofit their houses and able to make it affordable, climate proof. So we have a special budget for that. And as you see the SDG or the Agenda 2030 circle several times, this is something that I took from my and our ISD world more into the municipal world. I am just keeping the visibility of how do we actually contribute to sustainability, the 17 goals, which projects actually already qualify for being considered or striving for sustainability. And with the students from the past intakes, we have done that in collaboration already. And currently I am even working on developing indicators for specific projects so that this is measurable and we can be more accountable to the Agenda 2030 process. That's my monologue for now. I'm very much looking forward to hearing the others and answering questions. Oh, wait, sorry, there's another slide. Sorry, yes. Maybe the lessons learned, sorry. Yeah, maybe here you can see what my personal experience is, and maybe the others can relate. Even as a German.
I'm so sorry to cut you off, but we're a little tight on time. Is it possible
okay.
we could save this slide for open discussion and maybe Lynn can pull it back up again?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful. And this make a perfect transition to our next presenter, Alessandra, who is being channel also the same type of practice in the city of Stuttgart as well. So Alessandra, please take this.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I mean, I think my job is not as impressive as Francis, but yeah, it's a similar background. I have like the degree in architecture. I try to work a bit in like municipality in Mexico, and then I came for a master IUSD. And since then I worked a bit on architecture, but decided to start taking more of a role on project leading and project management, like more this having an overview of what's happening and also the little details. Really, I did like this mediation, so that's how I got into working in the public sector. Which, yeah, basically my experience in the public sector is in the state and in the city of Stuttgart now. I worked 2 years for Baden-Württemberg and now a year for the city of Stuttgart so far. And yeah, the office, it's in German, it's called Hochbauamt. It's basically the building department, and I can tell you a bit more like in the following slide. So basically what in both cases, what they do, they work a bit as an architecture planning office that mostly does project management for other departments, either in the state or in the city. So we don't really work with the public as such, but our clients, let's say, are these other offices, and we have to go with them through what they need, what they want, what's expected. We try to mediate and coordinate the interest of the different actors. Let's say, I mean, I think I'm not even following my own slide, but yeah, basically the tasks are similar. I think it's important to mention we are not the one that gives the permits, because that's usually the question that gets asked. For us, we're not the ones where you get a building permit, but rather we help coordinate. I can ask later on maybe more questions if someone's interested on how it goes, the difference between state and city, because the role, it's a bit different. For the city is more of a service for other offices. And yeah, I mean, at the end, what we do is that we are in charge of building maintenance, renovations, extensions, and just taking care or providing housing, all the different departments. And in the city, or in a city, it's a lot about the equipment. So it's important because they're public buildings, they're in the public interest, it's written about them. There's a lot of like yeah, like newspapers that want to write about the success or not success and financing. So they're always a bit on this view, and it's, yeah, it's important just to lead by example. So they will be remembered, they have an impact, and the city itself tries, of course, to use these buildings as example for other people regarding sustainability, regarding climate, and other regulations. I can explain you about the specific project I'm working on. Yeah, you can go for the next slide. In my specific case, in the department, I don't know, Abteilung I'm in, I am co-coordinating or leading a project for indoor swimming pool. The importance of this project, let's say in a city level, is one of the pilot projects for using the building information modeling method, which in private offices, I think it's come a bit further, but of course in a city level, being very bureaucratic, German context of being very used to rooted processes, it's an important thing. And the idea is to try to put together all these needs that we have from the different departments into an understandable and improve a bit our processes Yeah, but once again, the role in this side is not really the planning or designing, but rather the whole overview, the whole making sure that the standards are being fulfilled, that you become the responsible person in every sense, let's say project management style, on are you meeting all the deadlines that you have, the time frames for your project, the cost, and again, the quality. I think the quality is one of the most important things for, in this case, public building. And the BIM method is allowing, of course, that it's not only for the planning part, but also what we're trying to do is how do we like make the most out of this and be able so that the department that will eventually have the building in their hands and have to work with it, that they make the most profit, and that it becomes also, let's say, the life cycle better regarding materials, regarding where to put recyclable things, or if at some point it has to be demolished, just to be able to have this database of what's happening in the building, and so that they can also optimize their own processes when, in the operation of the building. You can change the next one, Lynn. And I wanted to show like some of course, the perks of this is being able to do simulations, being able to have different variants and actually see how the life of the building will be even before actually having built or having closed the planning stage. All of these things are done still in a like designing or work stage, and it's very interesting because this allows us, for example, to be able to reach agreements with other departments easier. On the left side, you see, this is one of the things that has gone very good in this project is working with the Amt für Umweltschutz, the Department of like climate protection.
Environmental protection.
Yeah, of the city, in the city of Stuttgart, this is super important. They always have to agree on the projects you're doing, on like supervising. And in this case was how do we maximize the green area in the building, in the rooftops, while at the same time adding much more, thank you, environmental protection. Adding much more, many more solar, in this case, our solar and thermic panels, and then also being able to have this building works as basically a solar absorption, because every part that you see, like the edges of the roof, the bottom part, like everything that usually would be just concrete, in this case, it's done with solar panels integrated in the glasses and everything. So yeah, it has been, of course, always like trying to meet as possible and be an example for these goals and other measurements that the city wants. So yeah, it's been, I think, a bit interesting in that sense. And when you go to the next one, was a bit like these tasks again. I think it's the administration part is it's very important, but still it's of course what allows this project to actually be built and be a successful project at the end. It's identifying, clarifying all the requirements, not just from the office, city's office that will be responsible, but also everyone else who has an interest around, maybe even from the city, maybe there's a school next to it, like what's happening as an impact of this building in the area. There's a lot of feasibility and economic viability studies surrounding it. This is a must before you even start anything. Just how is it gonna affect the climate? What do you have to consider afterwards? How is the ground looking. And yeah, depending on which stage of the project you reach, usually we have several projects happening. You go from the main strategizing. In my case, together with this was also a case. We're doing an architecture competition for another building, and yeah, you try to with the government of the city find the financing for it. You coordinate different planning and other departments. You go to the site and do construction management inside, and you also have like paperwork and other things. So I think it's a very changing job regarding the tasks. It's much more independent because you're the person responsible for the project. So it's not like just a whole team that shares responsibility, but at the same time, it allows you a lot to take decisions and kind of, yeah, lead this project to a point. So I think if you always have in mind what are the goals and to try to make it as sustainable as possible, you can always influence the project. And yeah, I think comes later, but it's government is Germany, so it's bureaucratic, it's slow paced, but still there's always something to do, a lot of things to do. So yeah, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alexandra. This is very interesting. Now we're going to transition our scale again to the more regulatory scale. Let's welcome Mauricio.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, cool. Okay, I am not very good for introducing myself, but I will try my best. As Francie already mentioned, yes, I met Francie before IUSD many years ago, and it looks like I have following her steps. She was working in academia, me too. She is now working in the public sector, me too. So Francie, it looks like I'm learning from you. Just shortly after I finished IUSD, I was working for some years in research, in science. I worked in Leipzig in a research project for nature-based solutions with a EU-funded project, quite interesting actually. That was with with an institute of geography. So back then I started to work a lot with geographers. Then I went to the Institute of Geography in Bonn, and I worked there for some years as well. Yeah, I was also involved in teaching activities, just like Francie. That's kind of my point. Yeah, I was engaged with some teaching for human geography or connected with urban geography, with research methods as well. And together with a colleague, I was also developing a very interesting excursion to Israel and Palestine for analyzing the urban development, yeah, from both sides, so to say. That was, of course, before whatever is happening there started to happen, and I will leave it like that. But it was very interesting insights, at least for me as an urbanist, as an urban planner, an architect, to analyze how cities developed in the middle of such a context. So it was quite interesting. Yeah, and this year I started to work in a city called Leverkusen, maybe for for the non-German, so to say, or for people non-committed for Germany, is not a very famous city, or maybe it is because of football. Yeah, so I am working here in the slide says coordinator of sustainable urban planning. I highlighted this name in German, Stabsstelle für nachhaltige Stadtentwicklung. If you want, you can Google this word Stabsstelle, because it's a very interesting position. Somehow you have the head of the department and you have the leader of the different departments, and the Stabsstelle is kind of in the middle of both. So it's like working with both of them, at least in theory. It's it is an interesting it's an interesting in between, also quite challenging. And with that, many of the projects I work with are kind of involved in different working groups. And yeah, essentially, I didn't have a lot of time to prepare very nice slides as Alejandra and Francie did, but I tried my best to summarize some projects that I'm involved with. So you can continue to the next slide. Okay, yeah, quite quickly, I included this picture of Leverkusen, and this somehow summarizes what Leverkusen is. Leverkusen exists because Bayer, as the company, the industry exists. That's essentially the main industry of the city, and everything has been involved with that company all the time. Leverkusen, if you see in a map of Germany, you have Cologne and you have Düsseldorf, and Leverkusen is in the middle. So it's a small city, at least in comparison to Stuttgart. But it is interesting because the growing areas, both of Cologne and of Düsseldorf, are kind of growing towards Leverkusen. So yeah, the city developing is growing and is developing in the middle of the two metropolis of this region, of this federal state. So yeah, that brings challenges, but I think it's a very interesting in between in terms of urban development. You can continue to the next one. So something that I've been working with is with renewable energy. I think I guess in Stuttgart as well. Here there is a lot of investment for developing renewable energy sources. So I'm involved in this research group, kind of analyzing some areas. Of course, the Department of Environment also develops their own analyses. We meet once a month, kind of to analyze how the areas have been developing, if it's possible to purchase it, if it's possible to purchase or not, if it matches with the environmental law, with the planning, with the regional planning law, and so on and so on. So yeah, this is one of the projects. Please, the next one. Yeah, another one on a more urban scale is with urban renovation. So yeah, Leverkusen, even though it comes from this industrial background, in terms of urban planning, has been mainly growing based on concrete everywhere. So in terms of nature or urban ecosystem has been somehow abandoned. So they, at least from the city department, they have been trying to implement new concepts for urban planning to tackle heat island effects and so on and so on. So I've been involved with this working group as well, kind of developing some strategies for that, developing some or writing some official statements, kind of to guide the project. If it's going to be developed from the planning department or from an external office, that we still don't know. But yeah, this is another one of my projects. This is actually quite similar to what Francie was saying, but the funding of this one is actually coming from the EU. So maybe that's a different source of of funding. You can continue to the next one. This is another one that I've been working with as part of the working group. I insist, I am not necessarily leading this project, but it's an interesting one. I participated in a similar future strategic project in Bonn, which was called Bonn for Future. That one is already finished. And this is a bit of a similar-ish one called Leverkusen 2014 Plus. At the beginning, before I started the position, it was called Leverkusen 2030 Plus, but 2030 is already in 5 years. So they wanted to plan it kind of more ahead. So yeah, this is just kind of an overview of what we have been doing, kind of doing a city check based on what we know about the city already, and based on that, developing some scenarios. Actually, this week we have already a meeting about it. So this reminds me a lot of IOSD, to be honest. Yeah, I can continue to the next one. This was another working group. Essentially, Leverkusen as a city, as I said, it grew up in the middle of this industrial area, which you can see it in the picture on the left. Yet Leverkusen doesn't have a main train station as a building itself, and doesn't have a Hauptbahnhof, which you can think, every German city has it, while Leverkusen doesn't have it. So the idea was is to develop one in this area here that you can see, like in this area. So essentially, we also formulated, this one is going to go for an architectural contest. So the working group essentially formulated the conditions for developing the contest, the conditions of the expectations of the building is interesting because Deutsche Bahn as a company is doing circular economy strategy, so we try kind of to incorporate it also here. Yeah, so this is another one of the projects. You can continue to the next one. Yeah, this is actually one that I am leading, and I think I can speak for hours about this one. This is a formulation of green bylaws for the city. So normally this is a document that both architects and urban planners use in terms of chapters and paragraphs and sections and so on, and what the proportion of green areas should be, and so on and so on. In this case, I am not using it. I'm actually formulating it. And if I am to be honest, if formulating a sentence for a paper or for a thesis is complicated, formulating laws in the German language is is another story. About this, maybe I can tell. I mean, my German is not that good as to do that alone. This project started actually 2 years ago. The guy, I don't know how to delete these two things. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Okay, I will not touch the screen anymore. I promise. Yeah. So about this, the person who was in this position before me did an in my opinion an interesting participation process, which I think he meant well. This person meant well, but essentially what the participation process was creating a website and asking people, this is the green bylaws, what do you think? And the question was so open that people started just to complain and to think that this was unfair, that this was illogical, and so on and so on. To the point that the city received a statement from a very famous lawyer from the city, a statement of 32 pages or something like that, essentially arguing why the green bylaws for the city are forbidden by law and are against the law, and so on and so on. So from the side of the city, they have to hire a lawyer, an external lawyer, kind of to help the city to develop this. So this has been quite challenging, also quite interesting, and maybe with that I can actually uh, uh, yeah sorry, reply the question of Elmira Nasri of how much knowledge of urban regulations you have to know. In my case, I barely have any. I mean, it depends on the position. If you're working for urban supervision or building supervision, of course you need to have a lot, but not for all of the positions it's the same. So that's one thing. And another thing, I don't know how is the case of Stuttgart for Francie and for Alejandra, but in this case of my position, it's actually quite political. So this document has to go to the city council, and the different political parties can approve it or can reject it. With this statement from that lawyer, some political parties, I'm not mentioning any names here, actually started to reject this document, even though at the beginning they were supporting it. So it's been very controversial. And it's essentially very controversial in a city like this because it's a small city. So you can think that the smaller the scale, the easier. But in this case, it's actually quite the opposite. They want to be a sustainable city, but they don't want anything to change. So it's kind of a contradiction itself. But that's part of my job, is dealing with that mentality or with that position in terms of sustainability. We can continue. I think I spoke already a lot about that. Another working group is urban climate of the city. So this is a document that was missing. The city itself has a sustainability strategy and a climate adaptation concept and so on, but somehow, it was not known what the inner climate of the city is. And if we don't have that knowledge, then we cannot develop any measures to tackle it. So we are developing this at the moment. I mean, we are part of the group, but this is led by this company, Geonet, which is a private company outside of the city. You can continue to the next one. As well as these working groups, the city of Leverkusen is also participating as a case study for two research projects. One is I have to write down the name here because it's a bit long. Is for the Federal Institute of Construction, City and Space Research. Essentially, France is BBSR. I don't know. I try my best to translate. So essentially, it's a project called Stresstest für Städte, and essentially they formulated all of these stress scenarios, and the idea is to understand ways to tackle this from a city department. We had a meeting actually some weeks ago in Berlin, and somehow Leverkusen is part of kind of the first group of cities that are developing this. But the idea is to apply this to many more cities. I don't remember how many, but we are kind of part of the first round. But it's a kind of a complex topic because coming from the national government. And you can continue to the next one.
Maro, I'm sorry. I think we may need
Okay.
to stop for the sake of time since we do have
Okay.
quite a few questions in the chat. I apologize, but Lynn,
fine.
yes, thank you so much though, and thank you to all the speakers. Lynn, should we formally move to questions?
I am up for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna help out Lynn because of some of the audio issues that she's having today. But yeah, thank you. There's been a really active chat going on here. And I just wanted to let our speakers know, I think it's kind of a safe assumption that the folks who you're seeing on the call today are generally interested in this type of work as a potential career path. So if you can kind of bear their perspective in mind when you're answering these questions. So Maro, you kind of answered Elmira's question about how much prior knowledge would be required. Francie or Alejandra, do you have any comments on that? So it was again, how much prior knowledge is required for urban regulations, development bureaucracy, and construction law for these types of public sector roles in Germany?
Yeah, go for it, then.
Okay. To be honest, I had no idea. I had no idea about the regulations. It was learning by doing. They gave me the Baugesetzbuch, bam. They gave me the regulations, bam. I was reading them. And then just, I don't know how it is with Mauricio and Alejandra. The quality of the colleagues, the whole team was that everyone was always approachable, always. I was answering questions. I was asking questions. I got the answers, and this is basically what, yeah, helped me to actually get into the job.
Yeah, I think from my perspective would be I was able to work in an architecture office in Germany, so I had to start learning a lot more of the construction regulations, let's say, which in a way was important when I started this building maintenance, but at the same time you realize you have no idea because you have everything kind of just in this very ideal life and on paper, and things work a bit different there and in the government. So especially everything that has to do with political regulations, hiring things, just how to actually move the project forward, right? Because you're in a strategizing position, not really in the implementing one. So just kind of even knowing how to do this, where you find your resources, who can help you with this, it's a very big step there. So it's very hard for you to know all this information before arriving. You actually just go for it. You have the interest, and it's more your colleagues that help you. And in the city of Stuttgart itself, a lot has to do that because the responsibility of certain topics are in different departments. Let's say, even projects that we're doing, I have to contact someone at Francis' office so that they can help me with this specific part of their topic, let's say. And then I go for someone else who's in charge of all the vegetation. And so you always end up finding the support of other specialists, let's say, on the topics. And yeah. And the colleague, yeah.
Really, really helpful. So I'm hearing that it's a lot of learning on the job. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Francie.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to add to that exactly. Also, what is special for the three of us, in particular, we come from building planning context. And municipal staff by tradition is they are clerks, they are they studied administration, they look at the projects, at their work from a pretty different angle than we do. And ideally we complement each other. So we know our building or urbanism or participatory approaches well, and we bring that as almost an innovative aspect into the work they do for decades. Yeah. And they give us the capacities or the knowledge on how simply the language works in the municipality. It's just a different world. And so this is where ideally we come together. So it will be intimidating for anyone, be it a German or a new German, yeah, an old German, new German, to start. But if the let's say the collegium is supportive, then this is a hurdle everyone can somehow overcome. And of course, the learning curve is very high, very high.
Thank you.
To that, it was told, I don't know how it was for you, they usually tell you it takes you up to a year to just start getting into the mood of working in the government. So it's
Yeah. So Lynn and I were just chatting. We'll go over a little bit, but just wanted to let everyone know that whatever questions we don't answer, Francine, Mauro, and Alejandra, we will be sending you through email, because there again is a very active chat group here today, which is wonderful. But I think we can take a few more minutes if that works for you all. Great. So Deanna was asking, what's the most common challenge in starting a public project? So for example, is it more about the political issues you all mentioned? And how would you help or give recommendations to students who are interested in developing urban development projects and want to be part of that public work that's taking place?
Shall I start? I think there is no one big monolithic example, or I think every project is very, very, very different. And that's on the one hand, the challenge. On the other hand, it's beautiful. And I think the political issue is sometimes the political pressure causes a project to start. Sometimes the political pressure causes a project to just stop. And then in our case, we pick up existing projects or we ignite new projects, and it's all across the scale. So if you like the unpredictability of that, you're definitely welcome to work in, let's say, in the context as I do. Yeah, if you like to just always react and but also be creative, that's in my example something. And of course, also linking to the participatory aspect, it's a constant loop, and always being held accountable for that. If you like that, because other than what Alejandra described, I'm always exposed. So, and that's, of course, you always have to be approachable to people. My phone is always there. I don't have the freedom to leave the office as much as I would like to, because we are held accountable for that. And it's more the Leslie Knope style. You have to love being held accountable.
I can talk even though I don't do really, or you want to go, Mauro?
As you want.
It's not really, I'm not really in urban development. I would want to say, I think community acceptance also drives the political pressure. It comes really together. I've seen we and especially the government and the Gemeinderat, like the parties, they tend to reprioritize projects a lot also on public pressure. So you're always, yeah, for us, it's very common that people send articles from newspapers, because of course this article can start much more pressure from the society. So it's not really coming from the government part, but yeah, of course it all becomes like you're representing the city. Like these people don't know all the other thousands of people working. They will know you, or they will know this project. So yeah, I think that's a bit more like the challenge on how to behave in that.
maybe in my case, I can complement with something quite short, and I can, if I may ask for a favor for Yilin or Dory, if you can, I will not speak about that, but if you can show my last slide, because that will be kind of for me the main challenge, which is not only political but also financial. At the end, the public projects are coming from tax money or from public funding or from something like that. Yeah, it's actually the next slide. As I said, and this is just an example, the city of Leverkusen is at the moment in austerity measures because, as I mentioned, they have a main industry, and the main industry is not doing well. And based on that, sustainability is apparently never a priority for any government or so. So many of the projects that I just explained started to be cancelled, actually. And essentially is political, as Alejandra mentioned, and as Francie mentioned, but and also every political party has their own priorities, and they vote or reject based on their priorities or based on their agenda. So a shorter budget also make them select very specific projects based on their agendas. So it's kind of a connection of everything. It's political and economic as well. And I think I wanted to show this slide kind of to close the presentation. Then everything is one directional. Also, if there is no money, there is no project. Or if the politics are against the project, then there is no project. I don't want to be very pessimistic. I just want to show how it is.
No, we appreciate the directness and honesty. This is a really great question. Lynn, do we have time for one more, or should we kind of, I think we have a couple closing slides probably, right?
Yes, so unfortunately, this is during the working time in US. It's very hard for us to stay, or unless we can leave the meeting room continue if people want. But just a quick reminder, we will have, first of all, we'll organize all the questions we collect today and send to all the speakers. And unfortunately, we have to ask all the speakers to share more of their time to help answer the question. And then I will send it out to all the people who participate today. And also our next session, sorry, is not October 9th, but on October 29th, that we will invite a speaker for non-profit organization to share their career path as well. And if you are in any of this sector and then you would like to share your experience, we are always welcome for different speakers. Okay. So quick question. So everybody have a time to, willing, have time and able to stay to help finish all the rest of the question? But first of all, how about all our panelists? Are you available to continue?
I can do one or two more questions because at the moment I'm actually in an event from work and I escaped, so I have to go back.
Okay.
So
Same for me.
Yeah, I think we can do a couple of questions, and then whatever's left, we can then do later on the weekend on like per email.
So we had a question from Shalini directly for Francie, which is, what's the life cycle of participatory citizen approaches within a project? Do you bring the feedback back? And she's asking because of an SDG seminar they had about the Münster project in 2022.
First of all, hi Shalini. thank you for the questions.
Hi Francie, good to see you again.
Yes, actually the cycle is ongoing as long as the project exists, and even afterwards, because we are still visible. We are as a team there as long as the area is existent. We are approachable and visible, and of course also for the sustainability of the project, we have to double check what happened with the project after its completion. And normally even 10 years after, we have to always double check if the project has succeeded. There are different ways of monitoring that, and also part of the creating the indicators on the project levels for the Agenda 2030 is something that we would like to, like Greta and me, my colleague, we would like to have more systematically and more mainstreamed. So, and what we did, for example, because Shalini was part of the seminar where everyone investigated on three main SDGs on energy efficiency, the 7, on the city goal 11, and on 13 climate change, right? And so because these are all concerns that definitely work well for such an area as ours. And maybe the process was that the IUSD young professionals gave suggestions, recommendations, and we took it further in different ways. That, of course, it was presented to the local council. So the local district council, the representatives from the parties, and also the public who was interested. I personally shared the results with the concerned planning departments, and we use it for as complementary information because it needs to be developed further. We have to consider this as, well, officially non-binding recommendations and impulses, right? But they are very important for our master plan for the green strip. Yeah, climate change, urban. Yeah, they are also important as a basis to develop these indicators because you gave a glance into the wishes of those who you talk to, and as side effects, they are very important to we keep them visible to raise awareness on the sustainability question in general. And the nice side effect also, we noticed multilinguality in the district is very important. The interaction of international young professionals with the local population showed that actually we tend to think in the German district, everyone is supposed to speak German and we communicate in German, and then the maximum is perhaps in English and past years Ukrainian to support those who are in dire need at that moment, also politically supported. But multilinguality goes even beyond that. So it was beautiful to see those who spoke Greek, they suddenly had someone to talk to in Greek and talk about the project, and then in any other language. That was actually beautiful to see. So this is something we pick up and we refer back to, but it's more on this continuous engagement in the participatory process, more informally, and in the back, as I already mentioned, for us as a working basis to develop a more binding and also accountable, because again, we have to be accountable for what we put out. And so that's a very important basis of the work that you did is a very important basis. And creating visibility is very important.
Thank you. Thanks.
I think maybe, Lynn, we could have this be the last one. So Taysir, who's on our new leadership team but had to drop off, I think, asked if you all could reflect on your experience and your views of what the challenges are from both bottom up and top down higher management. And she wrote that she knows the German system is very good at informing public participation. But any thoughts on that?
I would probably, my answer is one of the shortest. I think precisely in my position, it's a much more top-down approach, while at the same time we are not really responsible about this contact with the citizens, but rather the different offices. We have the one that manages schools, the one that manages kindergarten, the one that manages, for example, for this project, the indoor and outdoor pools. They are the ones who are doing this inquiries on for the population to be able to define the needs, and then in like agreement with us, we then are the ones who start presenting these things for the German council, the city council, sorry. And the parties then also kind of add to it based on interest on whatever they offered or people voted them for. So I think in that sense, they complement each other, but I would say it's a bit more, in my case, top-down approach.
Should I continue? Okay, maybe I continue. I think about, I don't know if the question of Taisir is what I see similar or different in terms of both approaches, but something I see similar both top down and bottom up is I would formulate it as inertia, because from top down they are already used to do things on a certain way and they don't see the point of changing it. I mean, in terms of sustainability approaches, applying certain concepts and so on, there is a lot of skepticism, like why changing it if we always did it like that? That is bottom up, but sorry, that is top down. But bottom up is also a bit similar. As an example, last week I was in the city council, and one of the politicians says, "Yeah, this city has always been an industrial city. Why should we change that?" So it's essentially kind of resistant to change from both sides, and kind of giving good, but at the same time understandable arguments to both sides for a change, and kind of persuade them to participate or to be part of that change. That is kind of something I have found from both sides. I don't know if Francie has something else to add.
Yeah, of course, ideally, as I described before, I'm ideally right in the middle of it. So communicating to the upper tiers, and of course ensuring the connection between the local community with the help of the district management to convey the needs and concerns to our own level, to make it important for the municipality, and then also to convince the upper tiers to consider that, to give funding, for example. So there's always this connection on all tiers, but sometimes, and we also try, we try, I have to say, taking needs and concerns from the local community up, and me making myself unpopular among different departments, because some concerns are not very popular in other planning departments or in other. There's a department for public order, those who take care of the people who are parking in the wrong spots and so on, and some districts just don't want to deal with certain issues, but they are important to the population. So I keep sharing it with them, and we discuss this in, also we have a working group, an interdepartmental working group for my area. So I put it on the table, make myself unpopular, but that's also part of that. You have to advocate for the concerns. You cannot just put them on the desk and ignore it. You have to answer these concerns. So there's always, it's just, this is part of the nature of that job in my case.
You all, as someone who's also working in local government, that resonates with me very deeply. Yes, Lynn, I think, oh, there go my lights, which are on a timer. Lights out. As Lynn said, we'll be following up with the questions that did not get answered in an email to our speakers, but just wanted to thank you all for your wonderful content today, and also for our audience with their really great engagement. So thank you all for your time. It's a pleasure to catch up and see you all. And as Lynn showed, this is our monthly series that we're continuing through this fall, and we hope that you will join us again soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
On your working time. Thank you.
Bye.